So today we were looking at the episode Lines of Communication. This is episode 11 of season 4. What do you think?
It was a little jarring. They didn't combine the stories as well as they have in the past. Usually the stories are combined metaphorically, but these were just like pretty obvious that everyone's having pretty much the same problem in different places.
Yeah, the same thing. There, but we're just kind of seeing it on two different scales. One of them, we see the internal conflict between people in the small group. The other one, we are seeing the internal conflict species wide, to where there's a potential civil war. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Between Earth and Mars is kind of, there's still humans fighting humans, just like with the Minbari possibly fighting Minbari. So that's where I was like, this is very literal.
Right. So civil war between humans, civil war between Minbari. Along with it feeling just disjointed in story, there's also the way it's executed. I think it was a couple of episodes ago I was talking about how bad some of the acting was on certain scenes, and I feel bad because, like, I understand acting is hard. People don't understand what it takes to be a convincing actor. I'll tell you, I don't either, because I'm not an actor. Yeah. So it's one of those things where when I see bad acting, I actually feel sad for the actors and for the writers and for the director, because it's like, this is what you got to work with and you got to figure out how to make it work. So it's not the worst thing that comes across somebody's TV screen. And I will admit, this is not the worst thing, but when we get there, I'll point out some of the bad acting, because it starts off pretty early.
Especially since we're used to, like, our main characters are good actors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To have the mix in there is weird.
I do want to point out two things. The Resistance leader, number 1, just doesn't have a name. She's number 1. And there's this thing in the 90s where they would take, like, all right, I'm gonna have to focus on conventional beauty standards for a second, if that's okay. Is that okay, Mel, before I jump in? Okay.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You talking about number 1, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
What it is, I think they're trying to subvert a particular standard. So they took a relatively attractive blonde woman and they made her one of the leaders of the resistance. You know, what you do is you throw on some combat colors, like a green jacket or something like that. Put her hair in a ponytail and some bangs. Like, she has the 1990s dystopian bangs, and she's supposed to be a badass. And that's what that's what that means. And I know they did that for X-Men, like the cartoon and stuff. So when they wanted to show that these characters are in a bad way, they would take the blonde character, tie her hair up, give her some bangs, and combat uniform. I think the exception kinda is in Captain Planet, but I don't know. But yeah, combat bangs is definitely how you know she's a badass. And she is supposed to contrast what people typically think of blondes. It's kind of like what they were doing with Talia Winters. She was supposed to also be kind of like this super attractive character with a complicated backstory. And you're supposed to be attracted to her, but also kind of sad. It definitely worked in the 90s, but now, because our beauty standards are not so Eurocentric as much as they were, we can see some things change a little bit. I think these days they're more trying to subvert pretty privilege, kind of. Because I don't know, certain series, they try to cast the most beautiful people in the world to be on.
Yeah, it was like everybody in the universe are models.
Yeah. You got to throw in some ugly people every once in a while. You know, not, I said ugly, but what I mean is you got to throw in some non-conventionally pretty people.
You know what? I was thinking about that when I was watching Murderbot this week.
Oh.
Like, the people are so, like, realistic. Like, they're not like horrible looking, but they look like someone you would see, like, in real life.
Yeah. All right, we focused on that a little bit. Let's kind of jump into this episode. We are looking at a little bit more setup. We're inching towards the confrontation between Sheridan and Clark, or Babylon 5 and EarthGov and Clark. And there's a lot of different pieces that are moving. right now we're very human centric. There is a portion of the story where we do focus on aliens, but there's a reason why. We open up Sheridan, he's watching ISN and he's being very frustrated, and he gets an idea because ISN, remember, this is President Clark's propaganda wing.
Yeah. Yeah, I laugh because, like, I told my dad this. Like, he be watching Fox News, and every time I come over, and he's, like, pissed off about what people are doing. And I'm like, you keep watching Fox News. You get all these channels. Don't you have the Sci-Fi Channel? He's like, yeah. I'm like, can you watch something else that's pissing you off?
Right.
Sheridan doesn't have a choice. They don't get nothing else. But, I mean, they don't have, like, downloaded recordings and stuff.
Right.
You can't go to Michael for some cartoons.
Oh, God, right? Well, and that's the thing, too. Like, people... There's a dumb argument about who's the best news source. Like, you are supposed to watch it and get angry. You're not supposed to watch it and be informed. And that's the thing that I clocked early, because the reporter is like, we only report the news and you make the decision. That sounds like the fair and balanced tagline with Fox News from I kind of feel like they still do it, but they started that in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing is like, we're just gonna report the facts and you decide. And it turns out what they're reporting is some extremely skewed facts. But that's not just them. That's everybody that's in the news media. Their whole thing is to get you emotionally connected and invested, so you will still watch and then buy the products from the advertisers.
Right. And then the cinematography, the wording, all those things are meant to get you invested in some way. If it's anger or excitement or cuteness, it's
FOMO.
Keep you. I was like, oh, there were murders on the South Side, but look at these puppies, they need a home. Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Jerking you all around with all the emotions.
Yeah. Just turn the TV off. And what we realized, it's manufactured consent. And this is something that Sheridan gets really frustrated with. We quickly switch back to Franklin is on Mars. Remember they did that in the last episode. Franklin and Marcus, they're on Mars. And they're sending this signal about the progress reports to Babylon 5. It's really short and it's very cryptic. This is something that number one clocks and is like, hey, that's kind of wild, whatever you're saying. And Sheridan explains this. Marcus bursts in on this conversation between them two, and he talks about that there was an explosion at the hotel and that 10 civilians were killed. And this like shocks everybody, because it's like, wait a minute, we're the resistance. Who could have done this? Delenn, who we're finally paying attention to, she receives a report from another Minbari named Pharrell about the increased raids on the Minbari borderline. The Minbari allies are being attacked, and it's frustrating because they're not really targeting the Minbari directly. They're tackling weakening the allies, right? And while that's going on, there is friction building among the castes because there's no Grey Council. And so the warrior caste, they just don't really care what's going on with the religious caste. And we're hearing a little bit about that turmoil that's happening. That's the other civil war that's kind of brewing in the background. So back on Mars, number one is beating the crap out of one of the members of the resistance. So this is where the bad acting really comes in. Okay. Cause again, I do feel bad for I do feel bad for the actors but I feel bad for everybody. So the guy that she is pummeling, his name is Felipe, and apparently, so they find out that he was the one that orchestrated the bombing at that hotel, and she's laying into him like, what are you thinking? Why did you do that? And he's all like, well, it was a short amount of time. I had the opportunity. The guards they had left. I had to take a split second, and she was like, a call would have taken 10 seconds. Can you imagine the things I would do to you in 10 seconds? And also, just the cadence of her voice, she's trying really hard to sound angry. I will chalk it up to maybe they didn't have a lot of time to go over the lines, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Trying to get out the right tone or whatever.
It also reminds me of what you said earlier with the conventional beauty type thing.
Oh, yeah.
like she didn't necessarily get cast for her skill in this role.
Yeah.
They were thinking more about her being a love interest for Franklin than her actually being able to play the role. Kind of like how the last girl he hooked up with couldn't really sing that well, but she was playing a singer.
Yeah.
But she was pretty. But she was a better actress.
She was a better actress. Well, also her role seemed a lot more fun. This role, the role for number one, which this actress does come back quite a few times. This role for number one seems to be a lot more serious, a lot darker, and that might be out of her range. And if that's the case, that's the case.
That's what I'm saying. Her skill for this particular role.
Yeah.
Not that she just got in here because she's pretty, but
right.
maybe she would have been better in a different pretty role.
Right.
And it's not like maybe in the 90s they didn't take this very seriously like they can now, but there are pretty girls who like to play tough roles.
And they kind of get that acting style down. Like Scarlett Johansson, I always have to mention her because I don't know if she has such a wide range, but she's done so many different roles.
She does a lot of action.
She does a lot of action, but she also does a lot of sci-fi that requires a little bit more cerebral acting too. So
yeah,
let's also highlight some of the bad writing in this episode, because after number one is done just tearing into Felipe, she walks off and she's like, don't you dare breathe without my permission. And he's all like, is this the way you treat your former lovers? And I'm like, there was no need to say that for anybody.
Did he supposed to get favor because they used to be lovers?
Right.
Or maybe it's like it is bad writing, but like it's because it's that playing on the fact that she's a pretty girl, and they're like, well, maybe she should have been easier to work with because she's a pretty girl. That could be why they threw that in there. It still doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help it. I'm just trying to figure out what the writer was trying to do.
Right. It's like they're trying to add some complexity to these characters, and they're doing it in ways that do not earn the character any like sympathy or care from the audience. It's very soap opera-ish. It's like, we need to throw in all these details real quick because this scene is about to end.
Yeah, except for the fact that with a soap opera, you already know these people.
Right.
You've had time to get to know these people.
Right.
And they're trying to throw you all this exposition.
Yeah.
When, like, really, it would have been more realistic for him to yell back out something about them being in a resistance or the political issue. Not, I slept with you at one point.
Right. Aren't you going to give me a break like you did the other night when I was in your bed? This also points out how disorganized the resistance actually is, because they have a leadership structure, they have cells and all of that, but they have people who are acting kind of on their own on the behalf of the resistance, but without the authorization of the resistance, and it's causing some bad stuff. So we see that the resistance needs to get themselves reorganized, and luckily Dr. Franklin and Marcus are there. They're gonna whip these people into shape. We switch back to Babylon 5. Sheridan is watching the ISN, and they're running the story of him having Minbari War Syndrome. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago, and he's like, all right, I got it. And the line that he hears is, our job is simply to state the facts. And this is them feigning objectivity. I ranted about that a minute ago. He bombards Ivanova's room. I don't know what time it is. It's either super late at night or early in the morning, but this woman is asleep. She's in her nightgown. She is comatose. And Sheridan just walks in, and he's just like running off at the mouth. And I'm like, man, bro, you're still in uniform. So is there not a night crew that's supposed to be running the station? Is he the only one?
Delenn is gone. He's by himself, stressed out about the situation. I'm thinking, like, is he still on his mandatory vacation?
Oh
and
God.
he doesn't know what to do with himself.
So he's on mandatory vacation. He's not commanding the station. So he's just moping around the station with all this energy. Annoying everybody. He spends that scene. He's explaining that he's gonna give, and since there's ISN, they're gonna come up with their own counter news programming called Voice of the Resistance, and he wants Ivanova to run it, and she's like, oh God, what the heck? And he's all like, yeah, we're gonna go down to the row room, we're gonna do it right now. And he turns to leave, and she's like, don't you think I should change clothes? Because she's in a nice looking night gown. And he looks at like, oh, my bad, I didn't notice. And she's like, okay, wait a minute. What do you mean you didn't notice? Her whole thing is, I know that you're not attracted to me and I got nothing for you, but come on, I'm a woman. Give me some credit, bro. And then he goes, oh, my bad. Your outfit looks nice. All right, now let's get down to the war room.
I mean, I did it. Like, recently, I feel like I hardly ever wear my normal clothes. I'm in scrubs, like, pretty much every day. When I'm not in scrubs, I'm in my pajamas, and no one sees me. But, like, I don't know. It would be nice to go out in my normal clothes and be seen and look like a normal person and not just always a nurse.
Yeah.
She's always in her uniform. She always has to be tough, and she likes being tough, but she still likes being a pretty girl too.
Yeah,
a pretty girl who you should be afraid of.
Exactly. Which that actress, like, she's been in some B movies. She can act. She's pretty decent, but she's also often cast along with her skill, but for her looks. And so this is a good opportunity for her to be like, okay, I know I'm in uniform all the time, but I'm not in uniform right now. Like, acknowledge me. And he's like, oh, my bad. Delenn is on the White Star. She's having trouble sleeping too. There we go. Everybody's having trouble sleeping. And then we get the news of the Minbari warrior caste and their actions and how they are causing these conflicts on Minbar. Pharrell, which is so funny because when I think of Pharrell, I think of Neptunes. So, yo, what if they cast him as a Minbari? That would be awesome. So Pharrell confirms like the grand animosity between the station, between the cast and the Great Council's dissolution, and basically the warrior caste is forming their own council and they're trying to like drive religious people out of the cities. We're going to learn a little bit more about what this has done to Pharrell specifically. Mm-hmm. But this is very disturbing because Minbari don't kill Minbari. Minbari is supposed to be like one people that are working together, but now they're kind of like dividing themselves on these caste systems, and then also the Minbari allies are being divided too. So there's a lot of division happening in the universe. Back with the Mars Resistance, Franklin, he's sharing with the Resistance, Sheridan's message, but what happens is he modifies the message and he says that like, hey, Sheridan also says like, don't be bombing shit because it's making y'all look bad. And, and, we need to like make sure that everything is all cool. And the thing is, the members of the Resistance are like, yeah, but why should we listen to Sheridan? And Franklin, I believe it was Frank. He's like, okay, I know that Sheridan was involved in the Mars food riots in the past. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Sheridan helped put down food riots? That sounds like some jackboot shit to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't put down riots peacefully. What you do is you send in riot cops to beat people's heads in. So was Sheridan a riot cop?
Well, he was a part of the Earth Force, so yeah.
And they just casually dropped this. They just said it in discussion.
Because I missed it the first time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this great leader has this background that we're not supposed to look favorably on. So it's like just following orders to put down people who are hungry. That's a little wild. And Marcus is the voice of reason at this point. He's trying to assure them that Sheridan wants to get past that history and actually help the people of Mars because they're on the same side. They seceded from Earth Force till Clark resigns. But in the meantime, they're going to do everything they can to help the Martian resistance. Yeah. So we have a pretty good reason why the Martian resistance is like, not trusting of Babylon 5. That's actually really cool, and it should have been more instrumental. In the last episode, we did see that some of the resistance were not so trusting, but they just kind of like got Marcus and Franklin just roomed up with them. It's not even a big deal, you know? I don't know. So
yeah, they didn't put too much into that.
Yeah.
Like, but then it also shows like we're not getting any information from Mars. We're not getting information from Babylon 5. Nobody knows anything. So them kind of throwing this information at us kind of adds to that nobody knows anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I guess to keep a single episode moving, a lot of that stuff is happening in the background and we just hear about it in passing in conversation. So that's why I say this episode is really like not all together. It's we're getting some heavy stuff, but so much is happening at the same time that it's just like hard to focus on.
Yeah.
Marcus does point out how it's important that so let me pause real quick. Marcus does point out how Sheridan promises to help liberate Mars and Proxima 3. Again, the target is President Clark, but Marcus warns against the aggression with them blowing up shit. It will alienate other alliance members because, you know, it makes them look bad. And so they want to end the terrorist bombings. Marcus also explains that like B5's prior absence due to the shadow, like, hey, we weren't here to help you out originally because we were, you know, fighting the war to keep everybody safe. Otherwise, if we lost, y'all be dead. So, you know, we deserve a thank you. And he also said like, I know. Y'all are wondering like, why should we care about a war that's happening elsewhere? Well, what you need to know is just the other day, Captain Jack had a creature on his neck, which is one of the aliens we were fighting. So they're already here. You're already involved. Let's work together.
So lying.
Say that again.
Just lying.
Well, no. That was true. The Franklin was the one that lied about like Sheridan even knowing about the bombings, but Marcus, but the whatever that thing that was on Captain Jack's neck, that's
they're one of the allies of the shadows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we only get a little bit of what that even means in this episode. Well, we get a little bit more because it's not just affecting humans. We're gonna see how it affects other people.
Yeah, because we already saw one on Londo's planet.
Yes. It is something that I wish was a little bit bigger, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So Sheridan's final offer would be Mars will be granted independence after the war is over in exchange for their assistance. And so this is also met with skepticism, but Franklin, he expresses like, look, Sheridan's got this. He's honored everything that he's ever said. And that where that guy was like, he's like, why should we listen to Sheridan? What did he say? It was something about like something about taking a trip to New York, and Franklin is like, yeah, if you said it, I would be skeptical. But if Sheridan said it, I'd be like, stop over on the west side and get me some bagels on your way. Because he does what he says. So they're rallying the troops with that. And pretty much in one scene, they take this disorganized group and completely reorganize them. And they are rallying them around kind of like the reputation of Sheridan, which, okay.
I just Matt said that he trusts Sheridan, so we can trust him now.
Yeah, right. I wish stuff was like that, where it's like, oh, what we need is just a rousing speech. Everything is going to be cool.
Well, for some people it is.
Some individuals maybe, but like for like resistance movements,
to just change everybody's mind like that makes no sense.
Right? Yeah. Back on the White Star with Delenn and them, they arrive at the site of those recent attacks, and it's basically the Pakmara getting beat up. I didn't like this scene so much. I mean, one, we haven't seen the Pakmara do much other than be blamed for eating dead bodies. And when we got a Pakmara being roasted on the bridge of his ship. Again, I hate to talk down about the production. They did the best that they could. The fire is real fire, but it looks like it's in a different room than the room that the Pakmara is in. It's okay. Lanier advises caution, and they're trying to figure out who these other attackers are, and they are identified as the Drak, which is a cool name. They have first contact protocols that they're trying to honor, and we see that Pakmara ship get blowed up. And Delenn is trying to talk to the Drak, trying to figure out what's going on. They try to, establish a link, and the Drak, they talk to the people in the White Star in Minbari, and Delenn is like, what's the deal with that? And Lanier is like, I don't understand, because we didn't get this being translated. We sent this in Interlac because it's easier to translate. They're speaking to us in Minbari. Just like, Minbari, how could that be possible? Well, we can only be talking to these people in Minbari if there is a traitor on the ship right now. And so Delenn turns around, and there is Brother Pharrell with a gun pointed at Delenn's head. A twist that was just, if there was going to be a twist, it would definitely be that character. But it was not foreshadowed. It was kind of out of nowhere. But now it makes sense, because it's like, okay, he's betraying the White Star and Delenn for a reason. Let's figure out what the reason is.
Which also means that he lied about his intentions to get her there. Yeah. The same way she lies about her intentions about most things.
Mm-hmm. Lying ass Minbari. What I noticed was in the background, Lanier is in his Minbari martial arts stance, and it looks so terrible. It looks stupid. And I'm like, I like this show. I really like this show. This episode is bad. Remember what I said? We're going to learn how Pharrell is being affected by the Warrior Cast's actions. Well, he speaks specifically to that. He says that Minbari don't kill each other, but they can cause pain to persuade. And he's explaining the deal that he created with the Drak. Delenn has to be there, so he has to get her there so she can hear them out. And so the White Star is following the Drak ship. We're kind of under duress with this one. We get back. This is where on Mars, number one is thanking Franklin and Marcus. She goes, "That's a pretty good speech for a liar." And he's all like, "I don't know what you mean. Like, what do you mean?" She explains, like, "Look, y'all just got here. How in the world is Sheridan gonna know that a bombing happened here just now? There's no way you contacted him." And this is where Franklin's like, "Okay, look, I understand what you're saying, but I had to come up with something real quick. It seemed like you had a little trouble with these people," because she was beating the piss out of Felipe there a minute ago, right? He said, "I just want to embellish a little bit and get them on your side," and it worked. And she appreciates this. She does offer her thanks. After that goes on, Marcus gets Franklin alone and banters with him a little bit, and he's like, "It looks like y'all got a little connection there." And Franklin's trying to dismiss it, but Marcus keeps prodding him on it. And like I said, the joy that this person has whenever he sees somebody that he cares about like be happy. It's kind of cool. It's childlike, but he has to be a big kid about it, especially with how stoic he is normally. Well, not stoic, but just kind of how dark he is normally. And so number one returns, she could like, hey, by the way, the hotel that was exploded was the Red Planet Hotel, the one that you guys were staying at. So that leaves y'all without a place to stay. Franklin, why don't you come to dinner with me? And, we'll spend the night together. And Marcus, well, it looks like our guards have things that they need to do. Can you help them out? and she does it with like a matter of fact attitude. So she's not like trying to be coy. She's just like, look, Franklin, you staying with me. Marcus, kick rocks, find something else to do. And Marcus again teases Franklin about this, and he says something that I thought was really cool. He goes, touch passion when it comes your way. Don't walk away when it calls you by name. And it's basically, I think that Marcus actually, like with the people that he cares about, he feels compersion when he sees that they are pursuing romantic and loving connections. Cause maybe that gives him hope that such things can exist for him. Cause in general, he's kind of a pessimistic person. Next, we get back on the White Star, and this is where we learn the true motives of everybody. Pharrell, who has Delenn at gunpoint, he orders the White Star fleet to halt near the Drak mothership. And he's like, hey, you're going to receive a pod, and we're going to talk to these people. We just want to talk. The pod comes on, and another bad thing about this episode. It was kind of cool, but it was bad. So the Drak emissary is this awful alien costume with a cloak walking through. And it does have a special effect that makes it look ghostly and kind of like out of sync with reality. And that part's kind of cool. It reminds me of the mimics from Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat. You know, the Tom Cruise movie where he dies a bunch of times.
Oh.
That effect.
I kind of look like the shadows a little bit.
I mean, but yeah, they're kind of like out of sync or they're in flux or something like that. Like to look at them probably is very painful. But with the human who was wearing this costume and the way that he was moving, I'm just like, that doesn't look cool at all. That looks super corny. So after that conversation with the Drak, this is where Delenn is like, you know what? Give us about a week to decide and we'll get right back to you. And
she does that so well.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do it.
But, well, she's feigning. She's like, she has all the information now and she's like, I'm sitting right face to face to the enemy. We destroyed their allies. They don't have any good intentions for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would have went verbal. I wouldn't know what to say. Like, she's just like, oh, we'll get back to you.
Right.
And then as soon as he's gone, like, no, we're not messing with them.
Right. It's like when you don't want to go somewhere and you're talking to somebody and you realize like, oh shoot, I'm being invited. And then you just answer like, oh, that sounds great. I'll let you know. And as they're trying to get out of there, Pharrell, he calls Delenn by name. The emissary pauses and triggers an alarm. And this is where there's like, oh no, they know. The emissary leaves. He like vaunts off the station through like a trend. What is it? Like a lift or something. Delenn confronts Pharrell and she's like, oh, the reason they're looking for a new home because their home was Zahadum. We destroyed it. This is one of the old shadow allies and they're trying to kill me. You tripping? Was it Pharrell? Like, like they're trying to get revenge. They just used you. And then this is where everything escalates to.
The deal was that he got her there.
Yeah, right. He got her there, and then they're gonna try to like take their revenge. And so this is where this whole situation escalates into kind of like a ship battle because it's a fleet of white stars. And it's a fleet of the Drak ships, which are the ones that I said looked terrible, by the way. And
it is a real quick ship. That's all. This is something. Isn't it a ship?
Yeah. And so they're kind of like, okay, we're not gonna do anything drastic, but we're gonna figure this out because we need to get the hell out of here. And so they use a special maneuver called skin dancing. All of this stuff really isn't that interesting. It's they didn't have any major stakes with this battle, but a couple of things happen while they're fighting their way out, to get away from the mothership. Their ship gets attacked. Pharrell gets hurt in the attack against the Drock. Some of the White Stars got destroyed. Delenn's ship is severely damaged, and Pharrell is struck by debris on the bridge. He just gets crushed. That always happens with these space shows. Like either some rocks fall on him or like a support beam that you never knew was there falls on him. It's like when Zathras was trying to get away from Babylon 4 and a beam just falls on him and they're like, leave him.
I thought the whole discussion with it was in place, but it was out of place. I don't know. Like, it was supposed to be there to show that these are warrior class. These are religious class trying to do the things that warrior class are supposed to do. So she's like, do you know that maneuver that the warrior class use? And he's like, I'm familiar with it, but I wouldn't be able to do it. But I could program it.
Right.
And it took you out of the story because you don't feel like there's this urgency of y'all being in the middle of a battle.
Right.
But it also they could have wrote it better. It's like,
oh yeah,
it makes sense to point out the fact that they are religious trying to do the warrior thing, but the way they did it just didn't execute very well.
Yeah.
I think they just got different writers for the season. They didn't expect to have to come back, and maybe some writers had like gigs already lined up and they went ahead and did that, so they replaced people.
That makes sense. And maybe some of the ideas, they're good ideas, they just weren't very well executed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the metaphor is all gone. No one's paralleling the science and the social stuff with metaphors. It's all just political.
Yeah. With the whole, with that whole thing coming to an end, they get the self-repair systems activated. It turns out that Pharrell, who was a traitor to the Minbari in this whole situation, is dying. He apologizes for putting him in danger and reiterates that he was only trying to help his people. And Delenn is like, I'm sorry. But she don't say this, but it's like, yeah, you kind of suck. You kind of fucked up. So
I mean, if you would have just like told the religious class, the warrior class is messing with us, but instead they go to the shadows allies to try to fight back and not, say, they are Minbari technically having us killed.
Yeah.
They're not killing us directly, but they're technically having us killed. I think because they don't have the Great Council anymore, they don't know who to go to.
Right. And they're going to the outside, which it's kind of weird too, because they also are not talking so much to a bunch of other species about their problems. And so them talking to like former shadow allies is such a wild thing. It makes me think maybe they're doing it in secret. It's kind of like the Vulcans. They want to keep it very discreet and very quiet. Like nobody needs to know that we got this bad stuff happening. So let's keep that quiet. In the meantime, let's talk to the worst species in the galaxy to help us. Yeah. So they get their ship repaired. They put their course to go back to Babylon 5. And Delenn orders the fleet back in battle, citing the destruction of the League ships and the White Stars justifies some payback. So they flip around and they open fire on the Drock and they kill a bunch of them.
She had a Sheridan moment.
Oh yeah, right. The Drock mothership is trying to escape, but Delenn orders the ships to intercept it. They speed down. Bam, 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 bam. And they like really hammered the mothership. And they destroy it. So It's her heat of the battle moment. Kind of cool, I guess. After the battle, Lanier's like, we got a lot of problems at home that we need to figure out. And it's like, no, duh. They need to stop downplaying that stuff. Like y'all got a civil war about to happen. The next scene is kind of one of the more touching ones. And it's like this is like one of the only scenes that actually works. Well, it's one of the 3 scenes that actually works in this show. And it's Delenn and Sheridan having their conversation. This is kind of like them reviewing everything that's going on. Because Delenn, she's back on the station. She finds Sheridan in the war room that's being torn down and turned into a broadcast station. And she's all like, yeah, you humans are so confusing to me. Back on Minbar, our cities have been untouched for thousands of years. I was gone for 3 days and you turned this whole war room inside out. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, humans like to change things. Sorry, redecorate.
Well, that as soon as y'all change something, y'all over here killing each other. So,
right.
Maybe y'all should learn how to deal with change.
Right. And basically, Sheridan explains his idea for the voice of the resistance. He knows Delenn's information correlated with the Babylon 5 reports that the Drakh are from Zahadum, and they are kind of a wild card in the post Shadow War era. He echoes his grandfather's warnings, which are the duration always outlasts the war. Like, we won the war, but we got to still deal with the consequences of the war itself. You don't just win and be like, hey, everything's fine. It's like, no, you got to like deal with people's stuff, their animosities, people who were formerly oppressed, all of those things. And Delenn suggests like some time apart, to kind of like allow them to hang out and stuff. Cause remember, he did ask her out to dinner before and she was just like, no, I got shit to do. She was busy.
No, and he's like, I'm busy.
Yeah. And she was talking about how Sheridan, after going to Zahadum, he was been dealing with a lot of stuff. Lorien gave him 20 years. Garibaldi is acting all weird. And she argues that her absence will enforce even more unnecessary change. And this kind of urges Sheridan to focus on the war at home, which is the whole conflict with Earth. They emphasize rebuilding things is harder than destroying things, but she does highlight Earth's unique ability to form new communities, and this strengthens her belief that Sheridan embodies well. While this scene is acted very well, this is them acknowledging like, okay, we're getting some stuff together, but I don't think it was executed like, I don't think it sends the message very well. Do you see? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like we have
restating it from the get.
Yeah, it's like we've got all this hardship. We've got these things after the war, but we have this resilience. We can build community and we can fight and we can make a new future. And it's kind of like, okay, I get it because you're doing this in these 2 other stories, but man, this was such a convoluted way to get there.
And she also mentioned him reorganizing the war room into a broadcast station.
Yeah.
So that's part of the resilience that humans have to adjust to what's going on at the time.
Yeah. This makes me wonder, is this kind of like a meta episode where they're talking about the resilience of the B5 writers and directors be like, okay, we got more episodes to make, so let's take this whole thing that was a war and reshape it into something else.
Yeah, they kind of are. I don't know if they meant to do that, but maybe that was probably on their minds as they wrote it, and it probably just came out in it.
Right. We see that Sheridan invites Delenn to dinner and she accepts it this time. She's not being so distracted. And Delenn, for a moment, she's like, I wonder what Marcus and Franklin are up to, because of course they know that they sent their assistants to the resistance. Mm-hmm. So we do see what Marcus is up to, and we get a little bit of an insinuation of what Franklin's up to. Mark is playing with his staff, which I wonder if this whole scene is an innuendo or some sort.
Because Franklin's also playing with his staff.
Yes. Yeah. And it is none other than number one. She screams out loud like, "Oh, Franklin." And Marcus is laughing at the whole situation. And I'm just like, this is so weird.
Yeah, I think that would be creepy. Personally.
Yeah. So we got through that. And it's kind of it's a thing where, okay, we are righting the ship. Mm-hmm. We ended the war a few episodes ago, and there's these different things that are going on that we can see in aftermath, but now we gotta like really focus because we're ramping up things that are happening with Earth, Mars, and Babylon 5. But we're also seeing the landscape of what's going on with the Minbari and other Alliance worlds. And yeah, the shadows are not gone. Well, the shadows are gone, but their allies are still around. So there are some bad actors in the galaxy that we still have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
My overall is this was a hard episode for me to watch. But it's okay. Once we're through it. We're going to get some amazing performances in the future. And that's okay. So, not every episode is going to be a banger, especially when you got like 22 episodes a season. You're going to have a couple duds.
Yeah. And them being thrown into the season.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, because the other seasons were so well planned out, and this one just really looks out of place.
Yeah. They kind of fizzle halfway, and they're just like, okay, we gotta get this back on track, which I believe they do. It's just we're just in at this point, episode 11, we're in a very turbulent part, and I say turbulence not like what's happening on not what's happening in the story, but just like them writing how to get the story where they need it to be.
Right, because they kind of closed up all the important stuff when they expected to close. And then having this other extra to do, now that they have to continue, rather, there was other open things for them to deal with. And them adding new open things, it's just, the whole thing with the Minbari didn't need to happen. Like her, counseling the Grey Council, or even the Grey them fighting against each other now that they don't have the Grey Council after they've worked together for so long, doesn't make any sense. It just adds more to it. Like, you already had elements to work with. You threw those elements away to add something new all of a sudden, and it's jarring. It didn't flow like the rest of everything had a flow to it. And then when you had those metaphors in some of the stories, you could bring those things back. When you're having the political, social issues, and you try to bring those back in a different way, or bring up new political, social things, because you could bring up new political, social things and have it fit into the metaphors from before, and it all was congruent. But without that backbone of congruency, it just feels jarring.
It feels, it feels jarring, like maybe the script was turned in literally before it absolutely had to start shooting, because it comes across as like somebody just turned in an essay that they wrote last night. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm gonna stop harping on it. J. Michael Straczynski and these writers have actually proven themselves for 4 seasons. So we can you're gonna have a bad one here and there.
For them being thrown out of place. Mm-hmm. Like I said, everything else was planned so well. For them to all of a sudden come up with a new plan doesn't sound logical. So it makes sense that it would be jarring when you do something like that. Yeah.
So that's this episode, Lines of Communication. I guess if we want to have a little bit of the final comment on the episode, it's like miscommunication between the different factions, like
yeah.
the Resistance trying to communicate with Babylon 5, the miscommunication between the different casts of Minbari, and then everybody finding out the truth and the best ways for them to behave or to, to use that information. And then the whole thing with ISN and the voice of the Resistance. So maybe the title of this episode was a little on the nose. So
yeah.
All right, well, let's get on up out of here. This is Voices of Hyperspace. You can catch us on all your favorite streaming platforms. You can continue the conversation with us on YouTube and Facebook. Look for at Voices in Hyperspace. I am Legendary Black Lion. You can follow me on Instagram at Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Mel Silo. You can find me at melsrebellion.com. You can also find me on TikTok and YouTube. And on my website, you can find my book, Unreading the System.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. And until next time, we'll see you out there.